Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi everyone. I'm Aisha Rosalie. I'm a convert to Islam, a British girl. So, as you guys might know, I used to work in Bollywood a lot. I traveled India for a while. I stayed there for months in Mumbai, in lots of different places, and I also was a Hindu. I was different denominations, so I tried Hare Krishna, and I also tried just like regular Hinduism. And I've been to all the big temples here in the UK. I've been to lots of temples in India as well. I properly used to practice. I used to get up in the mornings and do like puja, astaghfirullah, and do like with the Ganesha statue and everything. And even when I lived in LA, I had a Ganesha statue with me, like a proper big one that I kept with me. And I used to I memorized lots of the mantras and stuff, and I was really, really into it. So this is my video on my experience of being a Hindu, which is what I was before I became Muslim, versus my experience of being a Muslim. This video is going to be very controversial because if you're Muslim watching this, you're not going to want to hear that I did those things. And those are things that I did before I became Muslim, and I'm not going to deny them because they are things that I did. And if you are Hindu watching this video, you might not like it because obviously I'm a Muslim, right? So I'm going to be saying good things about Islam. But I'm also going to try and keep an open-minded, balanced approach. And I'm going to talk about things that I liked about Hinduism as well, because I want to be fair to people. I don't want to push people away, especially if you're born into the religion. You can feel very hurt. Somebody coming online saying bad things about your religion. I'm not going to say bad things about your religion, inshallah. I'm just going to say things that I went through personally and things where I feel like Islam came out stronger. This video is definitely not coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of wanting to share my experience, inshallah. But anyway, people are probably going to be offended by this video no matter what anyway. Okay, so one thing I like about Hinduism is the emphasis on detaching from the material world. Obviously, we have that in Islam as well. I think it's a beautiful practice. We have that with tawakkul, reliance on Allah, and zuhud, which is like detachment. I like the belief in karma, which Hinduism has, which is what goes around comes around. We also have that in Islam as well, the cause and effect theory. If you do bad things are going to happen. We even have it even deeper in Islam, where Allah tells us in the Quran that if we're grateful, He'll increase us in what we're grateful for. And if we're not grateful, He will increase us in what we're not grateful for. So not only is it cause and effect in the sense of how you treat people, you will receive back in turn. And also how you treat people will determine whether you get goodness in the afterlife or horror in the afterlife. So we have that aspect as well. And another aspect on top of it, if we're not good to ourselves and if we're not grateful for the lives we're living, we will not be increasing in abundance. If we express gratitude for the life we're living and be positive and have positive energy, Allah will increase us in abundance. And yeah, the Hindu concept of karma, how you treat people, it will come back around to you. That's amazing. I love that practice. I think it's a really good practice. Something that also attracted me to Hinduism was my love for Indian people. So I was working in Bollywood, right? So I was around Indians a lot. And I felt very attached to Indian people. I love the way they are as a community, how they're so kind, they're hospitable. They are a lot less selfish than people in the West. And I really like that I really liked being around Indian people a lot. So that was a big factor for me, and that was a big factor why I went to India and why I became Hindu and everything. But that also goes into the cons as well, is that Hinduism only really exists with the Indian people. There are like a few other countries like Nepal and stuff like that, but it only really exists in that region. There are no other like Hindu countries. In Islam, it's a lot more universal. You've got Arabs, you've got Malaysians, Indonesians, you've got Turkish, you've got Bosnians, you've got Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Indians. They're a lot more diverse. And I like that kind of diversity in the religion. So it's a pro and a con. The Indian people attracted me to the religion because I love Indian people. I still love Indian people now. Hindus and Muslims, I just love Indian people in general. The fact that it wasn't universal enough kind of made me, after a while, not feel like it was the correct religion for me. Like Islam's universal message transcends cultures and it talks to people from all over the world. I absolutely love that about Islam. Then another thing I liked about Hinduism is practices like meditation. We still have that in Islam. We have things like dhikr and salah, obviously, and tafakkur, which is like reflection. And when you're doing salah, when you're doing your prayers, you have khushu, you have like mindfulness in it, then it resembles a meditative state. So for me, the meditation side of Islam was stronger because I enjoyed meditating. I enjoyed doing those practices. I did so many of them. I did some while I was in India. I've done some here in the temples in the UK, especially at the Hare Krishna temple as well. where I would get up like really early in the morning and go, and they would have like dhikr type things as well, where you had like beads and you would say like Hare Krishna and things. I know Hare Krishna is different from Hinduism, but I'm just telling about my experience with that as well. But like with Hinduism as well, like going to the temples and stuff, I did a lot of meditation. I really liked it. Even when I was living in LA, there was a Hindu temple there, and I went to that temple and I did meditation for like an hour. And the only thing that ruined it was that the people were smoking weed there. That like really ruined it for me, but that's LA for you, right? You can't like blame Hindus for things like that. Yeah, but I love the Islamic side of meditation more, because with the Hindu side, there wasn't that discipline aspect. I get for like people who are like super practicing and they're like monks and stuff, they have the discipline, right? But I'm talking about for the regular person. For the regular person, there's no like command to be doing it at this time every single day. You don't find a regular Hindu doing meditation 5 times a day, for example. But you'll find a regular Muslim praying 5 times a day, because we are commanded to. I love that discipline side, because that discipline side is what speaks to me. It's the side that makes me do the things that are beneficial for me, even when I don't feel like it. And that's what I need in my life. I don't need something that says to me, when you feel like meditating, go meditate. I need something that says to me, when you don't feel like meditating, that's when you need it. When you don't feel like praying, that's when you need to pray, because that's what's going to turn your heart back around and make you feel better. The discipline side to Islam is so strong. And I genuinely think the discipline side to Islam is what makes Islam so much stronger than a lot of religions. There are many things about Islam that makes it a lot stronger, but the discipline side, that's the side that really transforms you as a person in every aspect of your life. If you were going to send your child to school, and you sent your child to a public school, and you sent your child to a private school where you pay a lot of money and you get really good education, the public school is a lot less disciplined than the private school. The private school is disciplined for a reason, because it gets results. If you go send your child to a public school, they're free to do whatever they want. I went to a public school. If you go to a private school, I have a lot of friends who went to private school. There's a lot of discipline involved, and that discipline is what builds you. If you just follow your desires all the time, you're never going to get anywhere. That's not how you achieve things in this world. You don't just do things when you feel like it, because there are going to be so many times you don't feel like it. You need to train yourself to do things when you don't feel like it. SubhanAllah, this discipline side of praying 5 times a day, fasting during Ramadan, this has transformed me into someone I never thought I could be. I can't emphasize the power of it enough. It's just so strong. It's such a strong force, and it changes people so much. And you will see a lot more Westerners converting to Islam than Hinduism. There are a lot of Westerners that may be practicing things like Buddhism, Hinduism, kind of on a low down basis, but they never actually convert to the religion, like properly convert and take it seriously. They will kind of like do these little practices here and there, but you will see a lot of Westerners properly converting to Islam. They completely change everything from their dress sense. They lose their family. They wear hijab. They lose everything. They change every aspect of their life. They change their names. They're praying 5 times a day. They're fasting Ramadan. They've lost their family. They're wearing completely different clothes. They change everything about their lives for Islam, because that's the power of Islam. That's what Islam shows you the way. Let's move on to the things I don't like about Hinduism. Sorry, guys. Obviously, the idols and stuff. At the time, I was kind of creeped out by them, because sometimes they're pulling like these faces, and it's very... Coming from someone who comes from a Christian country where they had Jesus on the cross, I never liked seeing Jesus on the cross. It looked like he was being tortured. I didn't like it. It used to freak me out as a kid. The same kind of thing in Hinduism. Some of the statues, not all of them, are kind of scary. They're pulling like scary faces, doing scary things. It used to scare me, especially when I used to go some places. And I went to some place in Wales that was like this really big temple, and they had like really scary idols there. And though I used to have a Ganesha that I took everywhere with me, I never felt like it was God. Like, definitely not, especially when it was like rolling around in my suitcase. Like, I never ever felt like it was God. You don't put God in a suitcase and take it to India with you. I felt like it was more like a good luck charm, and maybe that's the way Hindus feel. I'm not sure. I don't know if they actually genuinely feel like their Ganesha statues are God, or whether they feel like it's more of a good luck charm. But even Hinduism has a sense of there being one God, but all of the kind of idols are like versions of that God, like having Brahma. So there is a concept of oneness in Hinduism as well, of like the one God, and then these are like different kind of avatars and stuff. But not every Hindu is like really believes that. I just know that Islam is a lot more simple. And that was one thing that used to happen in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The people that used to worship the idols, even they had the concept of one God, but they would also believe that these idols were like, would sort of talk on your behalf to God. So they didn't believe that you could have that connection with God, that you had to kind of have these idols that would kind of like talk on your behalf. I feel like this makes things a lot more complicated. And when you don't have that direct relationship with God, it's a lot different. It's like you don't feel that presence of God in your life. You don't, because you're like, oh, God is not really, he's not really there. It's that idol that's going to talk on my behalf. I just didn't really, I feel like it made things a lot more complicated, not simple enough. So the caste system that exists inside the religion, obviously you have like Brahmins, you have like all these different castes. When I went into a temple in Mumbai, I was just not like impressed with the experience. Obviously, as a white girl who wasn't wearing hijab, I wasn't Muslim, going into a temple, it wasn't a spiritual experience. It was a lot of stares, a lot of people getting very close and trying to touch you. And I kind of tried to sit there and try to connect, but I couldn't connect. There was just so much noise. There was so much different smells. There was just so many people and bright colors. And it was just like overstimulating for the senses. It did not make me feel relaxed at all, which when I'm looking for a spiritual experience, I want to feel relaxed. I want to transcend. I don't want to feel like this kind of like this explosion on the senses in every single sense, just like all these stimuli coming at me. And the caste system as well. There's a very, very, very strong caste system in Hinduism, where you have like the higher caste who are sort of treated like kings and queens, or I mean, not to that extent, but they're treated really well. And the lower caste are treated horribly, like ridiculously bad, like even so much so sometimes they're not allowed in the temples, or they have to go into like a different section because they're not in the right caste. Their caste system always made me feel icky. I didn't like that at all. Whereas Islam, we don't have that at all in our religion. You will see these pictures and videos of like kings and leaders praying next to cleaners. Because if you're a Muslim and you're praying in a mosque and a cleaner comes and stands next to you, astaghfirullah, there is no way you can move away. We don't have that caste system. We have equality between brothers and sisters. And even so much so in our religion that when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam started preaching for the first time, the majority of people coming to the religion were not the upper class, it was the lower class, because Islam was elevating the status of these people. Islam was saying the slaves, the people that everyone looks down upon and treats horribly in society, you have an elevated status in the sight of God. So like if I was a Hindu and if I was from a lower class, and I heard that Islam actually elevates the status of the lower class, so much so that even in our religion, we believe that if you're from poverty, you're from lower class, you're more likely to go to Jannah than the ones from the upper class. Like we elevate the status of the lower class so much. There is no way that I would be Hindu if I was lower class. I would definitely be Muslim because you get treated a whole lot differently, completely different. So another thing I didn't like about Hinduism is the complexity and the lack of accessibility to the text. So like the Vedas is like really hard to access and the majority of Hindus have not read them. The Bhagavad Gita, maybe Hindus have read, which is a lot more modern. But the like original sort of like old school texts, most people have not read and it's really hard to access. Like you can't really access them. And the ones that you can access have been like altered throughout time. There's like a million different versions of them. Whereas Islam is very preserved. It's the exact same scripture as what it was when it was first revealed. It's very simple to understand. And it's been memorized by hundreds and millions of Muslims around the world. It's been preserved and it's not hard to understand. And it speaks to everybody. It's unchanged and it's a clear guidance to humanity. That is what makes Islam a strong religion for me. For me, Hinduism never really felt like a religion. It always felt like a practice. And some of the practices are really beneficial. But when it comes to religion, when it comes to believing in a God, every single moment of your day is watching you. That's just really not as strong in Hinduism as it is Islam. And I think that's like apparent in the way Muslims are versus the way Hindus are with their religion. Muslims take their religion very, very, very seriously. Islam provides clarity, inclusivity, structure. It's universal, it's preserved, it's practical. It's the ultimate guide for spiritual and worldly success. That's coming from someone who's experienced a lot of different religions. I've been to a lot of different temples and places of worship. And Islam is the only religion that I fully took on, that actually fully changed me as a person into a person that, inshallah, is way better than the person that I was before in lots of different aspects, not just in character, the kind of mum that I am, the kind of daughter that I am, the kind of worker that I am, the kind of person that's able to build their own business, and the discipline that I've brought into every aspect of my life. SubhanAllah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Assalamu alaikum.